This video is brought to you by these YouTube members. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. It's also brought to you by next week's video, the top 10 no affiliation characters. Click the link in the description below to submit your own top 10. I will then use the data collected to create a community choice top 10 no affiliation characters. Hello everyone and welcome to the top 10 Nels on Bleach Brave Souls. I've actually wanted to make this video for a while, as Nel is my favorite Orient card. K-Lab also seems to like her because she's one of the few characters we actually have 10 of. Granted, one of them is a kid, but I'm gonna count it, as I have seen that kid destroy in PvP. With that said, let's begin. Now we're starting off with the Metal Exchange Nel, the kid version of Nel, the reason I'm actually able to make this list. Now as far as Metal Exchange characters go, she's actually one of the better ones. Or I guess she's not one of the worst ones, is probably a better way to put it. Like all other Metal Exchange characters, she doesn't have high stats. Of course, that's something you can fix now, thanks to Transcendence, but what you can't fix is her multipliers, as she only has a plus 30 Bruiser and Berserker. With that said, I have actually seen this character destroy in PvP. It was a while ago, but whoever had her built her well. It also helps that she has a damage reduction soul trade of 16%. Still, I wouldn't think anyone would use her now for anything other than a link, though admittingly it would be pretty fun to try her in Inheritance Zone, since she does have a decent killer, and with the right accessories you may be able to make something out of this character. At number 9 we have the first Speed Nel, in fact the first Nel in this game. Now this Nel isn't much better than the previous one. She does have better stats because she's an actual character and she got resurrected, and she's one of the few characters to have both Frenzy and Bombardment. She also has a strong attack recharge link, and Havoc at 20. Honestly, this combination of abilities would make any character a great character if they came out now. Unfortunately, she is an older character, so even though she's resurrected, her stats don't go above 700. Not to mention that her strong attacks don't have great range despite having Havoc at 20, and she's got an Espada killer, which is ultimately what dooms her. Now don't get me wrong, we're starting to see a lot more characters with Espada and Captain killers, thanks of course to Guild Quest. Also, it's a pretty decent killer to have now in specific areas in Senkaimon. So while having a Hollow, a Ron card, no affiliation, or Soul Reaper killer would be better, this isn't the end of the world. I mean, I wouldn't use her in Guild Quest, but she might be able to pull off certain floors in Senkaimon. In the end though, she's mostly useful as a link if you're going into an area with burning floors, since her resurrection link gives her fire resistance at 55%. Next up we have Valentine's Nel, one of the first seasonal characters, and to be honest, one of my favorite designs for a seasonal character. What can I say? There's beauty and simplicity and I like chocolate. Now originally this Nel was awful. When she got 6-starred she got a little bit better, but was still very bad. Then she got resurrected, and now she's regular bad. That is to say, she's usable but only if you build her correctly. Now this Nel was one of the original boost characters. If you don't know, the early boost and healing strong attacks didn't actually deal damage, they just boosted or healed the team. This continued when Nel got 6-starred, but when she got resurrected they actually added damage to her strong attack too, and it ended up making the strong attack her best one. This boosts Nel's attack, defense, and focus by 33% for 20 seconds since she has Enhancer, and combined with a ridiculous 80% normal attack damage increase, her normal attack actually deals a decent amount of damage. Originally her range sucked, but now she has long reach at 30. With that said, she could have definitely benefited from Adrenaline, as her normal attacks are kinda slow, to the point where you'd rather use somebody else that has lower normal attack magnifications but a faster attack. Still, building her correctly, you can get a decent character out of her, which is why I ended up putting her at number 8. Next up we have the Parasol version of Nel. This version of Nel has a really high attack as well as Bruiser at 50 and a normal attack damage link of 25%, increasing her overall damage output by 75%. She's also got a plus 40 Berserker, and all of her attacks have a chance to inflict debilitating paralysis, which is pretty likely on her strong attack too since it's a Vortex move. Now it's a static Vortex move, but it's not a long duration one. That said, it's still more likely than the other attacks to inflict debilitating paralysis. Aside from that though, there's nothing that stands out too much for this character. She's honestly just a decent high attack character, one who should be resurrected this year, and who I really hope they do well, since I'm a pretty big fan of this character.
行きましょう。
Next up is one of the best links in the entire game, the swimsuit version of Nel. Now this particular character was really good even before she got resurrected. Resurrection just made her even better. She's got a super high SP as well as frenzy and a boosted strong attack recharge link. Not to mention that she's also got a strong attack damage link of 16% and havoc at 30, increasing the range of her strong attacks. Now her strong attacks do have great range, though none of them are full screen. She's got a lunge move for her strong attack 1, a vortex move that can inflict burn for her strong attack 2, and a strong attack 3 that encompasses a wide area, though like I said, not full screen. Honestly, she's one of the more fun characters to use these days, since she's not incredibly overpowered, but still really good. And if you have her and still don't want to use her, you can rest assured knowing you have one of the best things in the game.
できれば穏便に済ませたかったのだけれど、仕方がないわね。見せてあげるわ。はあ？
Next up is the ever so common Mel Nel, a character so frequently featured in banners that it'd be weird if you didn't have her at 5 out of 5. Now, she may be incredibly common, but she's also a really good character. She has a really high SP as well as frenzy and a strong attack recharge link, meaning she can spam her attacks. This is useful because all of her attacks have a chance to inflict debilitating burn, and her strong attack 2 is very likely to do so. This is the hybrid vortex move that gathers enemies in one spot before pushing them back. It hits a ridiculous number of times, and it's great for taking out bosses. Her strong attack 1 is also pretty useful for taking out bosses, and her strong attack 3 is a full screen move. Finally, we have her special. It not only has a plus 40 devastation, but is also guaranteed to inflict burn, and it leaves any enemy that survives it with weakened defense. Plus, since at this point a lot of us have her at 5 out of 5, it's just gonna deal a ton of damage. I'm not really counting that, but it's just a fact. Next up we have the Christmas version of Nel. Yet another Nel with a really high SP, frenzy, and a strong attack recharge link, though in this case it is boosted. This Nel also happens to have Berserker at 20%, so her strong attacks are going to deal extra damage. In addition to that, they can all inflict debilitating freeze, which is very likely to happen for her strong attack 2 because it's a hybrid vortex move that gathers enemies in one spot before hitting them one final time. Her other strong attacks are also impressive. Her strong attack 1 is a beam shot and her strong attack 3 is full screen. Then we have her normal attack. It may not deal that much damage, but each hit does hit twice, and because she can inflict debilitating freeze, it's very likely to inflict freezing as well. It's also ranged and piercing, and each final attack on the string can be a snow sculpture of Donto Chaka, Peche, or Bawa Bawa, which really doesn't affect the damage in any way, but I do think it's a very nice touch for this character. Finally, in addition to being able to deal freeze on all of her attacks, she's also completely immune to it, which just makes sense given the fact that it's a Christmas character. Honestly, she's one of my favorite Nels to come out. Not only is it a seasonal of my favorite Arankar, but she's one of very few characters who has a unique thing specific to her, which is the finisher on her normal attacks.
手加減はしないわ。これで終わりよ。バカな。
Now, this is actually a very interesting position for this character. I'm sure a lot of people expected to see this Can't Fear Your Own World Nel in either the number 2 spot or the number 1 spot. That said, I'm putting her at number 3 for a specific reason. Now don't get me wrong, as far as consistent damage goes, she has the highest out of anyone else on this list. Her SP is ridiculously high, and she has a Bruiser and Berserker at 40%, not to mention Guard Break, and a strong attack recharge link, which honestly is just a recipe for a great character. The reason she's not any higher is because her strong attacks are kind of awkward. Both her strong attack 1 and 2 have to be lined up perfectly in order to get the most out of them, and her strong attack 3, while it does have great range, is primarily directed at the area in front of her, which honestly is not that big of a problem. But it does make it to where this character can only attack what's in front of her. Still, this version of Nel is really good. Her Guard Break ensures that her strong attacks will always deal the full amount of damage, and when they hit hard. Not to mention that her strong attack 1 forces enemies back, and her strong attack 2 has really good distance. Honestly, she is an excellent boss killer because of this. In addition to that, she's also completely immune to being both paralyzed and poisoned. And she was also the first Nel to receive a Soul Reaper killer, which is still the best killer you can have. Finally, there's her special. Lord only knows why they decided to start it at this angle, but they did. And not only is it full screen, but she also has devastation at 60%, letting it deal more damage than the average special.
大地の慟哭を聞きなさい。ランサデルソ・ガミューサ。
Next up is the other Camp for Your Own World Nel, the Beyond Resurrection one. Now this Nel is my favorite Nel in the entire game. She's also one of my favorite characters to use in the whole game, and has quickly climbed up the ranks as one of my most used characters. She not only has a really high attack, but she's also got Bruiser at 80%, Poise, and a strong attack recharge link. Now while she did come out at that awkward time, when characters were getting plus 80 bruisers instead of straight up flurry, she still deals a considerable amount of damage with her normal attack. Not to mention that when she's using the attack itself, she is very difficult for the enemy to hit, and even if they do, she's not going to stagger because she has poise, making her a very difficult character to take out, as well as a great and really fast character to auto with, since the only way you can stop her is either to freeze her or paralyze her, but good luck hitting her, since her normal attack lunges are out of the way, and enemies are likely to get knocked out before they get a chance to do so. This also makes her a fairly decent character in PvP, though obviously not top tier. Now this Nel does have a strong attack recharge link of 12%, and it pairs really well with her strong attacks. She may be a normal attacking character, but all of her attacks have a chance to inflict debilitating weakening. Her strong attack 2 in particular is a vortex move that surrounds her. It's very likely to inflict weakening since it hits so many times, and it staggers the enemies around her, making it harder for them to hit her. She's also got a very useful strong attack 3. It gathers enemies in one spot before hitting them one final time. Not only does it hit more times than your average strong attack, increasing the likelihood of inflicting weakening, but it also puts the enemies in a perfect position for Nel to continue her normal attack. I do wish we didn't have to wait all the way until her resurrection for her to probably end up with flurry, but even without it, she deals a heavy amount of damage, and is one of the most fun characters to use in this game. Now there's no honorable mentions for this video for obvious reasons, but I did want to take this time to remind you to please vote on your top 10 no affiliation characters in the link below. I really enjoy doing community-based lists, since 1, it does save me time in the long run, and 2, I love having community input.
2頭幻影私の剣技に見とれるといいわ
Now finally we have the Orient Society version of Nel. Most of you probably saw this coming. This Nel is really good. She's got a really high SP as well as Berserker at 20, Frenzy, and a strong attack recharge link, letting her spam her strong attacks. And you definitely should with this character, since they all have great range despite her not having Havoc, and they can all inflict debilitating weakening. And she's very likely to inflict weakening on Heart Soul Reapers, since she has an ability that increases the likelihood of inflicting weakening against them. This not only makes her deal more damage against them once they're weakened, but is also the perfect defense against them, since the weakened enemy can only deal 1 damage per hit. Now Nel's strong attacks are really impressive. Both her strong attack 1 and strong attack 2 are lunge moves, with her strong attack 2 having a greater range, and her strong attack 3 is a hybrid vortex move. She's easily one of the more fun characters to use, and she's a pretty safe bet when autoing against Heart Soul Reapers. Not to mention pretty quick, thanks to the double lunge moves and the likelihood of weakening. Finally, this character is also completely immune to being burned, which honestly is just icing on the cake. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for some more top 10 lists.